If you black and you're in the French Quarters doing Mardi Gras, you're probably a tourist, because we got our own thing happening over there. Check, mic check. Yes, I am Chief Shaka Zulu, New Orleans, Louisiana, born and raised. I come from a family of masking. And when I say masking, we're dealing with an African tradition that was mainly stilt dancing. Around 30 years ago, I started playing the music around a masking Indian. So, because I felt like if I was initiated in the mass society as it relates to the continent of Africa, here I'm in New Orleans, born and raised, it's just a no-brainer to deal with the masking traditions here, right? And when I speak of the masking tradition here, I'm mainly speaking of the masking Indians, you know, that we call black masking Indians. You know, we deal with oral traditions, and the danger in that, when you don't document, is sometimes people may document for you, and that documentation doesn't have to be accurate. You know, we're wearing beads and feathers, and you know, the narrative that was moving forward was this quote-unquote Native American tradition. Two things happened. One, Louisiana wasn't a part of America when this tradition started. You know, we was a territory, and we didn't become a part of America till 1812. So this culture is pretty much the traditions that were here. You know, it could have been people that came from Africa 500-600 years ago, you know, because, you know, we were explorers and visited different places at different times, not just here, you know, many different parts of the world. So what they call indigenous people or indigenous inhabitants of here, we didn't use the term Native American because, one, we weren't Americans, you know, but there were native people here. We all know that. When the Europeans came, there were people here. Not only that people were here, they had a culture. So the question is, who were those people and what was that culture? When the transatlantic came in 1719, there was 3 ships, pretty much. One was the Dulac Dumaine, the other one was Ouida, which is an area out of Benin. So, and then you had another ship called Aurora, which means the dawn. So those were like the main 3 ships that came directly to Louisiana, right? So when those Africans came in, right, the ones who rebelled against the European, they ran off into the Maroons with their cousins who had been there all that time. So the way that we paid homage to those folk who took us in and hid us was to create this tradition. We've always wearing beads and feathers. I mean, you go to Congo, Nigeria, the Yoruba bead system of beading, thousands of years of feathers, the quills, thousands of years of doing that. That's not a Native American thing. A lot of cultures wear beads and feathers, so you can't specifically bring that to that, right? So I understand the Native American tradition and concept and history, and it doesn't make it any lesser than what I'm speaking of. It's just that it's a little bit different as it relates to this particular culture. And when you see the suits, you see Africa in it, you see New Orleans in it, and you see some native indigenous stuff in it. You know, whether you live uptown or downtown, it's a different style of sewing that you see. And you come up with your own theme. The ritual is 3 parts to it. You got your masking, you put a mask on, you're not a person, you become the energy or the entity of what it is that you're masking. The other part is procession, and you gotta realize, Mardi Gras, we weren't allowed to do that just 100 years ago with Europeans. Because remember, the entire city was the French Quarter. So anything outside of that city was, you know, was pretty much the swamps and, you know, so blacks born in New Orleans couldn't do Mardi Gras. I've never done Mardi Gras in the French Quarter in my life. I'm 54. So it gives you some idea. But what we had to do was, we had to utilize European holidays to mask our African carnival traditions in the streets. So we called it carnival. Same day, Fat Tuesday, the day before Ash Wednesday, different part of town. We built the suit. The masking was, one thing. The procession, you take the suit and your procession in your neighborhoods, right? Not up in the French quarters. The other part was the ritual. The ritual was taking a year-long process and hand beading and hand sewing the suits, right? So you had your own theme. You came up with your own color. So the suit told a story, right? And my story is a little different because I always incorporate two things: Africa, because I'm passionate about my roots, and I also make suits about bringing attention to something that I'm passionate about. Like if you look at that suit, it's the honeybee. The honeybee was in trouble because they spraying the plant, so I brought attention to that. That suit back here is a mosasaur, which is an ancient whale that they found in Angola, but they also found a tooth in Louisiana. So I'm like, where's the connection? A mosasaur is an ancient whale. Where's the ocean? You know what I'm saying? So how did it travel here? So most people believe that a lot of them wore the teeth as necklaces. And when they came through travel during the transatlantic, a lot of them came here. And then the tradition here is the Angolans that fought against slavery, they went off into this land that I think it was Tunica, Louisiana, that they call it Angola, which was the name of the kingdom of Congo, right? So that was denounced because they took a state penitentiary and put it on top of their land and named it Angola. So that was one of the largest penitentiaries in the South. In fact, the Smithsonian sent the mold from the teeth, and I put it in my stick. So I was passionate about it because they had a collection to Louisiana. That's why on that suit you see the magnolia flowers, Louisiana. On the back of the suit I did a seal that made the connection of the history, and hopefully that suit will go to the Smithsonian to be a part of that exhibit. And then this suit, the Egyptian suit, Kemet, I would say, my wife is studying the Medu, that people call hieroglyphics. That suit was inspired by her trip. And that suit tells a story. And I would like to lie to you and say I can tell you that story, but she's doing more studying of the reading of it than I do. So most of the time I have to have her interpret the story of that suit. You can't build this stuff by yourself. It's a family tradition. And if a guy told you he built one of these in 1 year by himself, two things: he lying or it doesn't look very good. Because you're talking about 1 million beads, man. 300 days of sewing. If who can dedicate that kind of time themselves? But family members, friends, your spouses, and these 100-pound suits, Big Chief suits. So if you don't get help, you're not going to get that out in 1 year. But it's a family tradition. It's a community tradition, and that's what makes it African as well. And also it keeps it alive. You talking about over 200 years of us African born in America in New Orleans doing this tradition. But every chief is responsible for a neighborhood. So if you want to know how great a neighborhood is, or the conditions of the neighborhood is a reflection on a chief in that neighborhood. So, it's just honest. If you ain't doing well, your neighborhood ain't doing well, because you got a grip on your neighborhood. The people respect you because of the work that you do in that neighborhood. Some people can't wait to be a chief, so they'll start their own tribe, right? But when you meeting on the streets, you're not respected. Because remember, it's street creds. You don't get street creds by doing that. People, like I was in another nation for 18 years before I started my own. And that chief didn't meet you unless you had 10 years on the streets. So when a nation don't want to meet you, it tells you something. Either you ain't representing, or you started your game because you wanted to be, known or seen, or, your presence is everything. Your respect when you walk through that neighborhood is everything. So the work speaks for your character and credibility and street creds. You see what I'm saying? Because people are not going to listen to you if they don't respect you. So they only respect you when you have done the work. That's just how it goes. So if you haven't done the work, you're gonna try to get respect other ways through violence, want to fight, you know. You got people that want to fight you, you know. Like, man, come on, man. That ain't what this is about, you know. Yeah, I'm too pretty, man. You know, I got 100 pounds on, man. Come on, man. I got a crew that's waiting on you. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. When you sew all year, when you put that mask on, you go through a lot of stuff in a year. Think about a year, right? How much stuff you go through in a year? Good, bad, ugly. You go through a lot of changes, right? So when you put that suit on, you're reflecting on all of the changes, all of the struggles, all of the things you went through that year. And that's where that transformation happened. Because you wearing it, I finally got to this point of this whole year of all of this different stuff that took place. Some people didn't have the money to do it because it's a very expensive process. They had to borrow money. We took losses. Something did get paid. You get in an argument with your wife because instead of paying this bill, you might want to buy some beads, and you're lying about, I had to spend on this when you really bought stones. You know what I'm saying? So you go through a lot of stuff. And then the frustration of not being able to financially take it on, with all of the other expenses that you have in life, because life's still going on. Still got mortgages, car notes, car insurance, children, all that still has to happen. They got a song that says "Sold by Candlelight," and that's because they ain't paid their bill. You know what I'm saying? People thinking they talk about "Sold by Candlelight," it's like some cute narrative, but your lights might have got cut off. So that's the transformation is just all of you went through that whole year to put that together, and this is that final product that I was able to get out. Because the worst thing in the world is to spend a year on something and don't make it. It's a bad feeling. And I always call it Afro New Orleans culture, because it's an African tradition that you might not see in Africa, because it's born right here on the shores of New Orleans. And I always say it's the last culture in America that started by Africans born in America that's still in its original form. So that's it.